Well, good evening, everybody. I'm looking for the video that usually starts this affair, and I cannot find it. So I guess we'll just start with what they call a cold open tonight with the Press Pros Magazine Monday Huddle. I'm Bruce Hooley. That smiling gentleman laughing at my ineptitude is Sonny Folks. He's coming to you live from the Skynet Internet Studios in lovely Piqua, Ohio. And he's going to welcome you to the show and tell you if you have non-functioning or very difficult to deal with rural internet, Skynet Internet Services can fix you right up just like they fixed him up.
How could I do it better than you just did it? But if you live in one of these west central counties like Miami or Shelby, I don't have the list in front of me here. Somebody's
Logan, I know Logan's one of them.
Yeah, I got it here. I got it here. Miami, Shelby, Dark, Preble, Logan, Clark County, Champaign, Auglaize, Mercer, any place in west central Ohio where you have bad Wi-Fi or rural internet, give them a call at Skynet in downtown Piqua. Talk to Craig Grissom. Give him a call at 773. It's 937 area, but 773-0998, and tell him you want what Sonny's got most nights. And most nights it works flawlessly. But the reason we come here, we've laughed about that from time to time, is when you get so far out and you try to crowd too many people on a show like this, the bandwidth becomes a problem. And they've been gracious enough to loan us their studio here. But as far as Wi-Fi, it's the best I've ever had, and they found a way. It works better than HughesNet. It works better than a lot of the other satellites, and they found a way to make it happen. So give Craig Grissom a call at 937-773-0998. That's Skynet in downtown Piqua. The thought has struck me tonight. It's the 19th of December.
Yes, it is.
It is 6 days away from Christmas Day.
Indeed.
I wonder, just as you were rolling that open, who in the world has a life tonight that is so impugned that they would be watching this rather than wrapping Christmas gifts, out shopping for Christmas gifts, out at a family function, at a dinner or something. I can only think of maybe a Keith Brooks, a Matt Fairchild, some people like that are inveterate watchers of this site and readers of the Press Pros daily site online that might be out there tonight. And if I'm talking to you, Debbie Parker,
Debbie Parker, I was going to say, how can you not have Debbie Parker?
Yeah, we could not appreciate you more than what we do tonight. So happy holiday to all of you. Thank you for support during the year. We were working. I spent the whole day today just working on records and metrics and numbers and things like that. And we have had just a fantastic year as far as new readership. And we couldn't do it without you. And that's the greatest blessing. If you're in the internet business and publishing business like we are online, that's the greatest blessing you can have.
Absolutely. And we appreciate everybody. And since you asked people why in the world they'd be watching, we dropped down a couple viewers. So I blame you for that. But hopefully they'll come back when Diana Kramer, the national, I said, volleyball coach of the year, joins us here in a few moments. The state champion New Bremen Cardinals, state volleyball champions, state Division VII football champions. And Diana Kramer, of course, joined us, I believe, after they won the state title. But since then, she's been named National Volleyball Coach of the Year by the American Volleyball Coaches Association. So Diana will join us here in a few moments. And
the people that dropped off were probably looking for "I Dream of Jeannie" rerun. So we're sorry about that. You're stuck with us for 45 minutes.
Or they knew that if I was on the air tonight, I'd be talking about the end of the Ohio State-North Carolina game. They've already gotten enough of that on Twitter, so they don't really need to hear it anymore in person. Although maybe we'll get to it a little bit later. Who knows? By the way, speaking of basketball, basketball is in full swing, and we have a week full of basketball. We have covered OCC games. We have covered Shelby County League games. We've covered MAC games, boys games, girls games, and it appears that our readership, Mr. Folks, is really anxious to read basketball because thankfully we have had very good engagement on our basketball coverage so far, and that will not stop this week as we have Ohio State on Wednesday night and an array of high school games throughout the remainder of the week.
Breathlessly, people out there can't wait to read about Ohio State and the Maine Black Bears.
Yes, the Maine Black Bears, who've beaten Boston College this year and who nearly won at Nebraska. So I would not say that Wednesday night's game is a lead pipe cinch, although why it is being played at 8:30 p.m. Is beyond me, although not really, because I know that everything that is done in college basketball is done for one reason that can be explained away with just two letters, TV.
I can explain this away as far as Wednesday night goes with one word, and that would be hibernation, since you're talking about bears, because
Yes,
there's a lot of people are going to hibernate before that bad boy's over.
indeed, particularly if that blizzard that May, I said, head in toward our area over Christmas. I'd be okay with a blizzard over Christmas. You have wood stacked up. You'd be perfectly fortified for a Christmas blizzard, would you not?
All you need is firewood, a wood burning stove, and in my case, I can't speak for you, but I'm a big oatmeal eater, so I've got plenty of that in the cupboard. So nothing is better for thee than me. So
You crossed me up there. I thought you were going to say plenty of either chili soup, or I
oh, we
thought
got
you were,
that.
going to make a reference to a certain little brown dog that you'd be hunkered down in.
No, I've got Stinky Brown there. She never leaves my side, but I'm teaching her to eat oatmeal, and she likes that. So, I can't Quaker Oats. Quaker Oats. I'm a big fan of Quaker Oats. By the way, as you mentioned, we were out doing basketball last weekend, and I just mentioned about the number of people who, especially new readers, who've found Press Pros in the last year and have made it a daily habit. And thanks to all the people who were kind enough to come up and talk about our state football finals coverage, which includes Messer Hooley to my left there, and Steve Blackledge, and Ms. Wright, Julie McMacken Wright, and Tim Becklin, our whole staff, the five of us who were in Canton. And a lot of people said the coverage was better than ever. You guys outdid yourself. I don't know what that means, but we do what we do. And it's fun because when you have local teams, the likes of New Bremen, the likes of Marion Local, the likes of Versailles, Minster, Coldwater, all the teams, Anna, that have won in recent years, it does put a little bit of a kick to you, lift to your step. And when you get there, we're blessed. Again, I say, to get to cover the kind of people that we did this year in the postseason tournament for those 6 weeks. There was never a dull moment, and that is reflected by the way you write and what you write. So thank you all for noticing, and thanks for the kind words.
Absolutely right. And speaking of the state football finals, we talked in the aftermath of the state football finals that Bryce Schondelmeyer, formerly of Bradford, am I right?
Arcanum.
I'm sorry,
Ooh.
Arcanum.
Ooh.
I could see orange, and I knew it was like a Wolverine style helmet, but I couldn't muster
black
up.
Black and orange.
I apologize to State Representative Jenna Powell, the pride of Arcanum. We talked about his here's word of the day, kids, paucity of Division I scholarship offers. He now has on his Twitter timeline posted that the Tennessee Tech Golden Eagles have offered him a Division I scholarship. So that is the only one that I see there. So I do not know if Bryce Schondelmeyer will be headed to Tennessee Tech or not. I continue to say that Bryce Schondelmeyer can play for any MAC team and for about half the teams in the Big Ten. And I cannot understand why a guy like Matt Rule at Nebraska would not have interest in Bryce Schondelmeyer, or the new Purdue coach would not have interest in Bryce Schondelmeyer. But at this point in time, he does have a D1 offer from Tennessee Tech.
Well, and you know, I don't know enough about football. Sometimes I don't know enough about football to be able to project how he would walk onto a place like you mentioned, Purdue and Nebraska, and be able to go in there and compete. I do know this about him. There is a developmental gem in the rough from a kid who has the ability to throw a football 75 yards, who is a son of a coach, who has grown up in the culture of football. I I would bet my life that that would be a young man that by the end of his sophomore year or his junior season would be able to step into any program that he was able to come up through, grow, assimilate everything that you need to be a leader on a football field at that level, and do it. I'd bet my life on it. So the one thing that people always talk about is we like to have a coach on the field. How many times have you heard people talk, coaches say, if something happened to me, I'd put him out there and he knows the playbook. He could run things. And I know Bryce Schottelmeyer is that type of wit between the ears, notwithstanding the fact that he can make all the throws. So I certainly do hope he gets that opportunity because it's just fun to see that kind of story from somebody who grew up in a small town like Arcanum. Bet on himself to go to a Division I school this year, like Springfield, lead that team to the state finals, and play very competitively against a team that, let's face it, they had more and bigger marbles in the sack maybe than what Springfield did.
Yes, they did. Just ask Mo Douglas about that if you don't believe it. We will get to head coach Diana Kramer, your National Volleyball Coach of the Year, momentarily. We just want to run you through our basketball coverage briefly. We thank Jeff Gilbert for sitting around Nationwide Arena all day Saturday, waiting on the showdown rematch of the Division I state championship game from last year, Centerville and Pick Central. The second of many career meetings between Devin Royal, future Ohio State Buckeye, and Gabe Cupps, future Indiana Hoosier. And you have no idea how much it pains me to say that. A great story by Gibby on that game. And we also have had multiple OCC games covered so far. Mr. Folks took in the unbeaten Rushi Raiders the other night with a career by Hayden Quinter with 32 points. And you said you have basketball in your crosshairs. How many consecutive nights the remainder of this week?
At least 4, maybe 5, depending on who is playing. On Saturday, I see that there are some afternoon games on Christmas Eve that are possibilities, but certainly Tuesday night, tomorrow night, there is a couple of dandies, Troy and Tip City for one, both in the NBL, both 5-0, 6-0 off to unbeaten starts. That's always a very competitive game. That game's played at Tip City. That's one possibility. Another possibility is a home tomorrow night with Marion Local and Botkins. Yes. I'm very anxious to see Marion Local, even though they're just out of football, but they've got a couple of big kids, inside. Then the Knapke kid at 6'8", 6'9", big, strong, very talented post player for the Flyers. And of course, Botkins still has the remnants of their state championship team from 2 years ago. And
I want to see Carter Plyman and how Carter can control the game from out front. Man, he's a fantastic player. So that'll be quite a matchup.
Wednesday night, we've got the Black Bears coming to Columbus. Thursday night is an interesting milestone for us because Carla Siegel, who's the girls' coach at Fort Laramie, will be vying. There's a word for you.
There you go.
For her 500th career win at Houston, not Houston, but Houston High School.
Correct.
Shelby County League play. And then, of course, Friday night's a poo-poo platter of whoever you want to go see play in whatever league you want to go see. So, there's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, pretty good. By Saturday, I might need a rest.
You might. Well, with that, we want to welcome to the show.
Here we go.
A longtime friend of show and someone who we are always happy to have. And as soon as I clear the logo out of the way, I will welcome Diana Kramer to the show. And it looks to me like you are holed up in your classroom at New Bremen Schools. Are you muted or did I mute you? I did not mute you. I think you might be muted, Diana. Working on it. Let's see. I did not mute you, so I don't know.
You don't have a braille attachment or you can't read lips.
Oh, nope, not right now. Still can't hear you. Nope, still no. This is unfortunate. I can't wait to hear. I don't think Diana knows sign language. I certainly don't. She could, but I wouldn't be able to interpret.
And I can't read lips.
And you can't read lips, so we might be stuck here. I promise you, Diana Kramer is not.
She might have to go get a third grader to fix that for her.
I'll tell you what, I was not surprised when Chip Otten could not figure out the tech to get on, but I did not think Coach Kramer would have connection difficulties, and it looked like we might have lost her internet connection there. So we'll hopefully have her on, because I want to hear about all the things in her classroom, and I want to get an update on what's going on in the building where she is, because I believe New Bremen and Marion Local are playing at the very moment she's taking a break from it to join us.
Maybe
Coach,
now.
there we go.
Ah, perfect.
Fantastic.
By the way, my first question is, who's doing your bulletin board this year?
I do. I love pictures, so that's why you see a lot of pictures. My whole class is filled with pictures.
It looks like someone's refrigerator door.
It kind of is. Yep.
So, Diana, congratulations from Sonny
Yes.
and myself and everybody who has followed your career and is impressed with the successful program that you have built at New Bremen on your recent honor, National Volleyball Coach of the Year. You got a trip to Nebraska out of that. That had to be a wonderful, wonderful honor for you to get.
It was a very humbling and rewarding and once in a lifetime experience. And my family came out there with me. My mom unfortunately had her knee replaced on Thursday, so she couldn't make it, but everybody was out there. I met some really, really awesome people, ran into some people that I haven't talked to in a long time. And that's the coolest thing. It's just the relationships that are made. And, you know, the award may have my name on it, but there's so many people that I need to thank. And I don't even think that I could list all of them without forgetting someone for this award to happen. And it's just awesome for, you know, my former teams, my players, the communities I've coached in, my coaching staffs, my family, everybody involved. It's just been awesome.
Here's a great question. Why Nebraska and not Las Vegas or
Right.
Palm Springs or Nebraska of all places in the middle of the winter?
Right. So the Final Four, the Division I Final Four was in Nebraska this year.
Right.
3 years ago, Duquesne, actually, my alma mater, hosted it in Pittsburgh, and we went there. 2 years ago, it was in Ohio State. Next year, it's in Tampa Bay. So, you know, if you head south, it'll be nice and warm next year at the Final Four. It just happened to be in Omaha this year.
Bruce and I were wondering how you get nominated, how this all came about for you. And I suggested it's probably in part due to all the great publicity you get on Press Pros Magazine.
Absolutely. I somewhere someone had turn in a nomination form. I don't know who that was. But it's remarkable that a small school gets recognized when there's so many high schools out there that are constantly putting out Division I players that, you know, their teams are really, really, really good and really big high schools. And it just speaks to the communities that we live in around this area. And it's a well-deserved honor for my past teams, especially this current team this past season that overcame so much adversity to finally make it to that last game and win a state championship.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to take you fans and you, Mr. Folks, a little bit inside baseball here. I was covering New Bremen in the state football playoffs in the regional finals, I think, against Lima Central Catholic at Wapakoneta. Right. And I had in my possession a New Bremen headband that's one of the players left behind in the locker room at the Nutter Center. And so I made connection with Diana at halftime via text, and I gave her the headband. And at that point in time, I believe New Bremen was down 21-14 or whatever. They really hadn't stopped Lima Central Catholic. And I said, what do you think of the second half? And she's like, oh, New Bremen will win this game easy. So to what do you credit your amazing insight on football analysis, Diana?
You know, that was actually a really tough game. New Bremen just has the mindset across the board that you just got to keep believing in yourself, keep believing in your teammates, and trust your coaches, and they're going to put you in position to win big games. And that's what they did. The football team really, really made the town proud this year. I just left the basketball game in the middle of the third quarter. New Bremen, coming off of like 7 days of practice, is playing a really, really good St. Mary's team right now. When at halftime, I think New Bremen was down 8 maybe, and they're just competing. And that's the really cool thing. And everybody in the stands expects New Bremen to win, and they found a way to get it done. And I couldn't be more proud of Coach Schmidt and his staff and the football players that have put in so much time and effort to get to that point.
I'll share this with you, and on a serious note, because I've heard you have been around your timeout huddles before, and you and I've known each other and talked a lot about volleyball. You've taught me an awful lot about volleyball, and I thank you for that. But one of the things that you've always stressed is execution, and I know that that's how you win.
Right.
Is you just out execute people. You can talk about all the glib and glamour and everything of the cliches don't win football games or volleyball matches, but your kids are such in the habit of just out executing. And I know Chris Schmidt and Coach Mo and the guys on his staff preach that to those kids too. And they go out and they're capable of doing that.
Right. I mean, I think timeouts are really important times to talk about what you're going to do moving forward. Don't focus on the mistakes that happened in the past. Because unfortunately there's nothing you can do to change the mistakes. So, you got to learn from them and move forward and talk about what you're going to do and how you're going to leave the timeout and, what you're going to do to be able to make a play and put your team in a better position to win that next point. And in the game of volleyball, it's so different because every single mistake or play is a point. There's no other sport like it. Baseball, you could strike out, doesn't necessarily hurt your team. Football, you could throw an interception. It doesn't necessarily lead to points. You can have a turnover in basketball, doesn't necessarily lead to a point. Every single time, every single play in volleyball leads to a point for some team. And that's why I think, watching volleyball this past weekend in Omaha, coaches are now able to, challenge. Oh, my classroom's going dark. Hold on. Here we go.
There we go.
You're able to challenge plays and, get calls overturned just to make sure that the right call is being called because the game is so fast. So it's a very unique sport. And I'm just proud of the players that I've coached to find ways to be confident enough to go out there and make good plays against really, really good teams in competition.
I can only imagine. You've been around volleyball all of your life. Very fine high school player, played at Duquesne, coached at St. Henry, won a title there. You've got 3 now where you are at New Bremen. I just wonder sometimes how many people are in your volleyball pipeline, because those relationships go so far and they have a lot to do with the kind of recognition that you richly deserve and that you just got. And for the fact that anybody that you mentioned Diana Kramer to in Ohio, for the sake of high school volleyball, those people are so respectful of you and what you have done for the game of volleyball. Do you ever stop and think about how many people are in your pipeline, how many how many relationships are out there?
I mean, that when you say all of that, it really puts things into perspective, how important relationships actually are. And one of the coolest things is, this weekend I received my award from Karch Karai, the Olympic gold medal coach for the women's team. And then I received another award from Keegan Cook, who is the AVCA board president. He just got hired as the head coach at Minnesota, and going up on the stage, I congratulated him on his new job. And he kind of laughed and he said, I'm supposed to be congratulating you, but it's recognizing everybody else's achievements because it's people like that I'm learning from. And one of the really, really cool things is seeing former players go out there and coach. There's former players of mine on St. Henry's staff and on New Bremen staff, former teammates of mine coaching with me here at New Bremen, fellow, my former high school coach and Lisa Toby, who, when you think of New Bremen volleyball, Lisa Toby's one of the first names you come up with because she's been around New Bremen volleyball for every single year except one as either a player or a coach. And it's those relationships that just mean so much to me as a coach, because people reach out to you and they're asking you questions, or I'm asking other people questions. One of my favorite things to do is go to the coaches clinic and present at the junior high coaches clinic and just help spread the word of how great volleyball is and keep that passion and fire going for so many other people.
So one of the other things that I asked you when we met briefly at halftime at the Lima Central Catholic New Bremen football game was, I think we were only 2 weeks after you won the state, and I thought maybe you'd taken a little time to enjoy that, and I'm sure you have. But I said, when do you start preparing for next year? and you said 3 years ago. And I would be curious to have you explain that process. What enters into it?
So it's really hard for a lot of people to understand that, but I'm constantly thinking of, you have your 1-year plan and your 5-year plan, and your 10-year plan, and nothing ever goes according to those plans. But, you're an injury away from having to go to that plan maybe a little earlier, like we were this year with, unfortunately, Mia Schmidtmeyer getting hurt, who was arguably our most consistent and go-to player last year. So there's constantly a plan in place, and you're working hard to, find a way to keep developing girls. And I think that one of the most important things to realize this year is the process is working. And my message to all those freshmen coming into high school, it's not realistic for freshmen to start varsity. A lot of times they play on the freshman team and then they move up and they're sophomores and they play on the JV team. 2 of my senior starters this year, played JV last year. One played JV the whole entire season. One played JV half the season. And some girls wouldn't be able to accept the fact that their juniors playing on JV, but they bought into the system and they trusted the process. And this year they get to raise the gold trophy because they put in the time and the effort. And the process is working. So, the underclassmen are learning from the older girls, and the older girls are putting their trust in some of the younger girls that have to play with them too. But just working hard, trusting the process, and parents just telling their kids, keep working hard, get better, find ways to make your teammates better, because that's why God put us on this earth, to make the people around us better people. And if we're doing that, we're making this place a better place.
I'm so glad you said that, because that's really out of touch with modern culture today. And particularly a lot of coaches that you hear talk about parents who all they want to talk about is playing time. Why is my kid not getting a more featured role than they do? And a lot of those people will say, well, I hate to tell you this, but your kid's not ready for that type of responsibility yet. And it's a hard fact. It's a hard truth. And anybody who's ever played has had to live that. I know you probably did at one time yourself.
And one of the really cool things is that they understand their roles and they understand how important they are. Maybe the media don't always see every day in practice how hard they're working, how hard they're pushing each other. But that's the key to success, is all those people that maybe aren't necessarily named every single day, but those underclassmen or even those upperclassmen that are senior captains that don't play a single point, but they're there because they love their teammates, they love their school, and they're going to do whatever they need to do to make the team better, and they're going to accept that role. And those people are going to be really, really successful in 5 years and 10 years, because they have figured out how to make other people better and put other people sometimes in front of themselves.
So I have 2 questions I want to ask you. I don't know if we have time for both, but number one is, I think you said the best quote I've never seen used in a story. I thought about using it. I haven't used it yet, but I promise you I will use it at some point in time. And that is, after your win in the state championship, you said, little boys in New Bremen don't grow up wanting to be LeBron James, and little girls don't grow up in New Bremen wanting to be Serena Williams. They grow up wanting to be David Homan and Olivia Heitkamp. And I thought that quote, Diana, perfectly captured what is special about small towns like New Bremen, Maria Stein, Versailles, Coldwater, and cultures of success like are so prevalent in the MAC.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's those people that set the example for the younger kids in our school. We have a brand new K-6 building, so the younger kids get to see the older kids at times, and the difference that they are making in their lives, they don't even understand until 10 years later when they're in that role. So my second graders this year look up to those people. At recess a couple weeks ago, I went outside and I was playing football, and I was the all-time quarterback, and one of the kids said, "Man, you're about as good as David Homan." And I said, "I know." And girls are they're playing volleyball, or they're dribbling a basketball. They're just it's really, really neat to see. It's neat to see at the basketball game tonight all the little kids that are so excited on a Monday night to cheer on the New Bremen Cardinals, because it's something that they're passionate about and they care about, and they're dreaming someday to be out there on that court playing, whether it's basketball, softball, baseball, golf, swimming, football, you name it. They're just excited and dreaming big.
National Coach of the Year somebody's National Coach of the Year. I'm not exactly sure what organization.
American Volleyball Coaches Association.
Well, Diana Kramer wears the crown at least for the next 12 months, and she's our guest tonight on the Monday Night Huddle. You mentioned coaching, and you mentioned some of the kids that you've had, that you've coached, that are back in coaching now. I'm interested as to what Paige Jones was able to contribute to the program this year, because I remember first seeing her in the 2017 team and your first title, and a tremendous career that she had in the Big Ten at the University of Michigan, an all Big Ten player. And on your staff this year, talk a little bit about what Paige brought to the program, what she contributed, and how the kids, just learn from her, and what kind of things they learn from her.
Right. I mean, Paige is a great role model. Those girls were managers when she played. They remember watching her play. They wanted to grow up to be like her. And now they get to be in the gym with her as the coach. So it was very neat to see everything come full circle for Paige. Paige has an incredibly high IQ. She brought a lot of enthusiasm and passion to the game with just attention to detail. And her and I have been around each other a long time. We have a great relationship, and she was willing to do whatever we needed to do to find a way to win. And that goes for my whole coaching staff. Everybody knew what their role was on our staff, and they found ways to bring out the best in the girls, whether it was them cracking a joke in the middle of the huddle, or, paying attention to some kind of passing platform that we had to work on, or attacking that we had to do in practice. That's the most important thing, seeing those relationships, bringing that high IQ. And everybody just respects her. So it's very, 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 very awesome to see former players come back and want to be part of your program. I feel like that's one of the highest accolades I can get as a coach, when former players want to come back and still be a part of it.
And I would imagine she's a good communicator, given her age and the fact that she's young. And a lot of people who are great players have trouble communicating and talking about and bringing themselves down to the level of explanation to younger players. I would not think that was the case with Paige.
No, I mean, her roots are still very deep here. She's a small town girl with a lot of crimson and gold in her blood. Yet, she may have went up to Michigan and she did fabulous there, did great things, but her heart and soul is New Bremen, and she brought that passion, and that was a key for us this year.
All right, so I have to know before I let you go, how was the trip to Lehman's? Because I know you hit Lehman's Hardware on your way to the state football championship, and we always tell people how great Lehman's is.
Do us proud.
We need a somewhat solicited testimonial from you about Lehman's Hardware and Old Time General.
Right. Lehman's was great. They have everything that you need. My kids absolutely love the store. I think we could have spent all day in it. We were ready to get to that football game, though. Everything and anything that you could possibly dream of or want or need, they were there. There were smiles. The people were friendly. Just a really, really, really cool store.
Great experience.
Well, Diana,
I want to thank you again before I know you got things to do tonight, and I wish you and Alan and the 4 kids a great holiday. But I want to thank you again sincerely about how much I've learned from you just being around you. There's a reason why you're a great coach, because all you got to do is just kind of listen. And I've learned a lot from you, and I appreciate the relationship more than I can tell you, and more than people actually need to know. So I hope you guys have a great holiday together, and your family, and congratulations again for all the good things that you so richly deserve.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to you guys too.
Merry Christmas, Diana. Thanks so
Go
much.
Cardinals.
There you go.
Good cards.
Diana Kramer sneaking that one in at the end. Nice to have her on as always, and honor well deserved. And it's nice that they recognize her. And I don't have any idea what her future plans are. I'm sure that she's approached regularly by bigger schools, bigger programs. I could see her staying where she is for a long, long time, because she seems to really genuinely enjoy being immersed in that community. And I could also see that, maybe she wanted to see if she could do it somewhere else. But however long she's at New Bremen, she's a tremendous influence on the second graders she teaches and all the people and students who interact with her. And they're very, very blessed to have her in that community.
I cannot tell you and emphasize enough how good it is to have a coach in your system that's willing and can tell your kid you're not ready to play yet.
Mm-hmm.
You're not ready to play. And I'm telling you, I know that hurts sometimes. And I know there's a lot of parents out there who live vicariously through the activities and of their kids, the competition through their kids. And there just comes a time when you have to have somebody who tells you the truth. Look, you can't do this yet. You may never do this, but I mean, right now we need you to go down here and get a little salt and pepper. That means seasoning, and just become a little better, get and catch up to the game that you really want to play, because it's amazing how much faster the game goes. The difference between JV and varsity, high school and college, and right on up the line. And I more as much as anything I appreciate about Diana Kramer is her ability and willingness to explain that to people and have it make sense.
Well, she is definitely one of a host of great coaches that we are fortunate to have in the Press Pros stable of great coaches that we cover, for sure.
In the Rolodex.
Yep. We have a message on Facebook chatting about basketball from Ken, who says, be sure to catch an OG, and I don't think he means original gangster, from Putnam County this year. I think he means Ottawa Glandorf. And I you know what, my friend Ken, I anticipate catching an Ottawa Glandorf game this year at the state Final Four in Dayton, where we caught them last year, taking down Afrocentric in the semifinals and giving Cincinnati Taft all it wanted in the state championship game. And I am very much looking forward to seeing Colin White play again for Ottawa Glandorf, because he captured my fancy last year, and he has a great future ahead of him in basketball. So we are well aware of Ottawa Glandorf.
Now, Ken, ditto to that, because Colin White really got my attention last year, just for his age, of just how savvy he was, how cerebral he was about the game, because it's easy to come when you play a team like Taft that's bigger, has more athletes, and the intimidation factor of playing in the culture of basketball that they play in Cincinnati, which is a little bit different than Putnam County. How able Colin White was to just take all that and break it down to the least common denominator and just go out and play. Do what you do and do well, and make other teams react to you. And he was able to do that. That's the impressive thing about Colin White. And we know very well about Ottawa Glandorf, and we're looking forward to seeing him in the postseason.
I would say the thing about Colin White, and Gabe Cupps has this quality.
He does.
Devin Royal has this quality. Dalen Swain from Afrocentric has this quality. However fast the game is going, and sometimes in those state tournament games, it's going very fast and a lot coming at these kids. There's, on really great teams, one guy at least who the game is not going nearly that fast for. He's in control of the whole situation out there, regardless of how frenetic the action is around him. That's what I noted about Colin White, who did it as a sophomore, which is very, very rare. Gabe Cupps has been able to do it since his sophomore year. And that's a quality. I assume you can develop that, but I think it's at least half as much just innate. And it's interesting to watch it when it happens, because you can definitely pick those people out who have the game kind of in the palm of their hand while everything's raging around. DJ Moore from Worthington Christian a few years ago was another player like that. So
it's called being able to stay in your lane.
Yeah.
Just stay in your lane, do what you do, make other teams react to what you do well, because maybe they're not accustomed to playing somebody like you against somebody like you. You never know that. And you bring up a very good example of a group of kids that have impressed us over the last 2 or 3 years. I do remember DJ Moore.
Yep.
And boy, he leaped out at you, as does Gabe Cupps and people like that, immediately, for their ability just to make the game slow down and find their advantage, against the competition they're playing.
Yeah. And it's a rare player that can understand that if they have the ball in their hand, the game can't go any faster than they go. A lot of players try to speed up to the speed of the game when they inherit the basketball or they come in contact with the basketball. It's a rare talent that can just realize that I'm the maestro here. The orchestra is not going to go any faster than I go. And that's a quality that's really fun to watch in some of Ohio's better high school basketball players.
I think, and the other thing it's fun to watch too. This is very young in the season. I guess they've played 5 or 6 games now, and the girls have played maybe 7 or 8. But I thought about the other night when I watched Rushi, who's very good. They have a group of kids there that have played together for 2, 3, 4 years. They since freshmen. Hayden Quinter scored 32 points the other night, but played a lot of time as a freshman. Last year as a sophomore. Xavier Flippo, Braylon Monin, Braden Monin, Braylon Cordonier, and Monin, and all those kids have been together. How much better they're going to be now than they are now, 6 weeks, 8 weeks from now, when we get into that tournament, that process. And I think you can say that for Jackson Center. I think you can say that for Fort Laramie. I think you're certainly going to be able to say that for teams out of the MAC, like, for instance, Marion Local. There's so much anticipation for that, and they always have to start late because of the success they have in football. But, there's some teams out there that are beginning to say, hey, nobody thought we were going to be good. St. Henry has had a couple of impressive wins this year. Not a lot of size on that team, but they're well coached by Eric Rosenbeck, and they're ready to compete. So that's the part about high school basketball that you really appreciate, because people, Bruce, and I think you're a basketball guy. A lot of people don't appreciate or understand all the nuances of football, but everybody knows that basketball is a matter of how you get the thing in the ring. What do you got to do to score, and then of course get stops on the other end? It's only 5 on 5. It's not 11 on 11, and it's easy. And that's why I think basketball is so popular with a lot of people. And that process from here to March the 1st is so compelling to watch.
Well, Tuesday's game, tomorrow night's game between Marion Local and Botkins is going to be a tremendous game. And there is a game that I am looking for on Marion Local's schedule, and I don't see it, but I know it's got to be on there somewhere.
Well, St. Mary's?
Yes, indeed. Wouldn't they be playing St. Mary's at some point in time?
They do play St. Mary's. I don't know. I actually asked somebody last week when they play, and they told me, but their schedule has been jumbled around a little bit because of the late start with football.
Yeah, I want to see Jack Kanapke and Austin Parks go at it.
Yeah,
that'll be a matchup.
Yeah. I think just there's so much intrigue and interest in Austin Parks this year. He's a great athlete. He's not only 6'9", maybe 6'10", and 250 pounds, but he's a great athlete. And of course, he plays up there for Dan Hagemeyer, who has won multiple state championships, both at Fort Laramie and at New Knoxville. And Dan can coach a little bit of basketball. He can get kids prepared to play for the next level. So that'll be fun. That'll be a great matchup.
Well, we could have used Mr. Parks on Saturday afternoon at Madison Square Garden.
Here we go.
We needed a big body who wasn't afraid of the moment, because they got dominated in the post by Armando Baycott, and they completely botched the last 2 seconds of that game strategically. And I am still salty.
Yeah,
from
you're
the
salty.
Buckeyes 89-84 loss to North Carolina. And Mr. Folks might have to throw a bucket of ice water on me Wednesday night in the postgame at Ohio State, asking about why in the world they did not guard the inbounds pass, not just once, but twice in the final 2 seconds.
Your attitude reminds me of a great scene from Seinfeld where George turns to Jerry and say, "Why are you so sour? And what's it going to take for you to sweeten?" And you're really sour. You're going to have to sweeten up a little bit.
I'd like to know how Chris Holtman could grow up a fan of the Kentucky Wildcats and apparently be the only coach in the history of college basketball since 1992 who has not seen Duke beat Kentucky on a court-length pass that was not contested. But apparently he did not see the Christian Laettner Grant Hill play, nor did anyone on his staff see it, given the way they defended the end of the game on Saturday.
Well,
now you know how I feel when you talk about moving Big Ten baseball to the summer.
Touche. I'm not allowed to talk about that, at least until spring.
Yes. All right. Well, we want to wish everybody who reads Press Pros, watches the show, watches the lowdown, a Merry Christmas. We appreciate you guys so much. We appreciate all the coaches, too numerous to name, the athletes, the fans. We really enjoy what we do, and just hope you guys have a wonderful end of 2022, and we look forward to seeing you wherever we are in 2023.
I'm allowed a shout out here, aren't I?
Yes.
There is an elderly young man named Ray Adams. Every time that I go hunting someplace, and I was just in North Dakota last week and talked about pheasant hunting out there. Ray is 89 years young and lives for those stories. People say, how come you write stories about pheasant hunting and rabbit hunting and squirrel hunting and things like that, outdoor stories, on Press Pros, when there's other things to write about kids volleyball, basketball? There's so many other things you could write. And Ray has always been so kind to write to us and say, I so look forward to those because I can't do it myself anymore. But I remember the experiences and how much fun, and taking my own boys and teaching them the responsibility of handling firearms and ethical practices of hunting. And I know that, Ray, you appreciate that. And I appreciated the email that you sent me this morning, read it, loved it, and certainly hope that you have a great holiday season. I'm humbled that you care enough about to read those and to look forward to them when we're able to write them and publish them. And so our thanks to Old English Outfitters, of course, in Tip City on Ginghamsburg Road, who have been our sponsors for outdoor page content now for 13 years. So Evan and Mitch English, we couldn't do that without them. And Ray, certainly appreciate the kind words. Have a great holiday and a Happy New Year. We'll continue putting the hunting and fishing stories up there for you.
Fantastic. Well, with that, we certainly convey our appreciation to Diana Kramer for taking a break from the basketball game. She likely missed the end of it. She's that gracious with her time. We deeply appreciate that. We do hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas season, and we'll see you. Are we going to do this next week, or are we going to reconvene at the first of the year?
So I would think we might want to reconvene at the first of the year, because next week is going to be a lot of things going on. And, just like tonight, I wonder how many people are going to be actually presence of mind to tune in and watch tonight. I know Debbie Parker's watching tonight, but we'll give people a week off next week, and we'll see you after New Year's, and we'll talk about the big tilt with the Georgia Bulldogs.
Now, Julie McMacken Wright weighs in and says that the Marion local at St. Mary's game is December the 22nd. I don't think that's right, is it? Could that be right? At St. Mary's, Marion local?
It might have originally been scheduled, but somebody told me the other day that they thought that game had been moved.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. I'm not sure, and I don't take notes when people tell me, whisper in my ear about.
Well, I know that I believe Kurt Gettemiller was scouting. Who's playing New Bremen tonight? St. Mary's?
St. Mary's.
Oh, Kurt Gettemiller is scouting that game.
So maybe it is the 22nd. I don't know.
Maybe it is the 22nd.
That's one we want to see, and that's one we will see. So
yeah, very good. Well, whenever it is, we'll do our best to be there. Thanks, you guys, for joining us. Hope you have a wonderful night, wonderful Christmas, and we'll see you again on, what will that be, January the 2nd?
Bruce, you need to get online right after we get off the air tonight and spend a lot of money. I
do. On my wife?
Yeah, probably.
I think I spent a lot of money with you already on my wife. And by the way, on January the 2nd, we'll have an Ohio State playoff game to talk about. We'll have all the bowl games to talk about, and we'll have Ohio State's Big Ten opener to talk about. So a lot to talk about.
Good.
All right. Fantastic. Have a good night, everybody.
Happy holidays to everybody.